Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to today's presentation. The Honorable Miss Ratu Syarah SPD MPD as the lecturer of Sociolinguistics class and my beloved friends. My name is Siti Khoerunnisa and I'll be your moderator for this session. Today, we are here to discuss an important topic with the title, The Effect of Local Dialect Variation on Students' Comprehension in English Language Learning in the Classroom Context. This presentation is delivered by Group 13, consisting of myself, Siti Khoerunnisa, Lidya Kamal, and Nabila Nurfatya. So next slide. And as you can see on the screen, here is the outline of today's presentation. The first is introduction to the topic, an overview and definition. The second is authentic examples. We will discuss local dialects like Sundanese and English. The third is analysis of examples, including methodology, rationale, and analysis using relevant frameworks. The fourth is pedagogical implication, focusing on the implication for students, teachers, and the wider context of English language learning. And the last is conclusion, summarize the key takeaways from today's presentation. So before we start our presentation today, let's say Bismillah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Without further ado, let's start the presentation. So the first material will be delivered by Lidya Kamal. Lidya, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Here I will talk about the background and case example. The role of local dialect in English language learning is regional variation. The differences in pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar between Sundanese and English create challenges in comprehension and pronunciation. Then cultural identity. Sundanese dialect reflects social and cultural identity, giving a sense of pride and attachment. Next, communication challenges. Differences in sentence structure and pronunciation can hinder understanding of English as a foreign language. Last, linguistic diversity. Acknowledging dialect variation help promote inclusivity and shows that the local language is a strength, not a barrier. Then there is the challenges of dialect variation in the classroom or misunderstanding. Differences between Sundanese and English dialects can lead to misunderstandings in oral and written communication. Then social stigma. The use of Sundanese dialect may be considered non-standard, lowering students' self-confidence. And last, teacher bias. Teacher may favor students who speak the standard language, resulting in a gap in learning opportunities. And then for the last, the impact of dialect differences on students' understandings are reduced comprehension. Sundanese students have difficulty following instruction and conversation in English. Next is a low academic performance. Difficulty in understanding lessons can lower motivation and learning achievement. And then social isolation. Difficulty in following conversations makes students feel left out in social and academic settings. And last, negative self-perception. Difficulty adapting to the English language can lower students' self-confidence. Okay, here is an example of the difference in pronunciation and intonation between people who use local dialect and native speakers.
Voice, very, shape, fine, live.
Voice, very, safe, fine, leave.
From this example, we can see that there are significant differences in pronunciation. Okay, the next material will be delivered by Nabila. Thank you.
Alright, thank you moderator for the challenge. Now I would like to explain about methodology or framework and then rationale and then analysis result. So the methodology, we use William Labov 1972, and then this framework is one of the most influential approaches in the study of sociolinguistics that focuses on how language variation, including dialect and speech style, is related to social factors such as class, ethnic, and geographic region. Labov points out that language is not a static entity but is constantly changing and varying depending on social, culture, and environmental context of language users. And then rationale, the person is not just a different in linguistic form, but also reflects social factors such as class, region, and cultural identity. This theory is important in understanding how students who use local dialects might face challenges in understanding standard English learning material often used in schools. And then Labov's 1972 emphasized that language variations, including dialect, should not be considered as inferior or illegitimate linguistic form, but rather as legitimate representation of one's social identity. Therefore, it's important to understand how this dialect variation affect the comprehension skill of students in English language learning, who often use a form of language different from their local dialect. And then this study will utilize the Labovian approach to explore the relationship between local dialect variation and students' level of comprehension in English language learning. Using lab of theoretical framework, the study will examine the extent to which local dialect affects students' ability to comprehend English material and how such variation can either hinder or facilitate learning. The research also aims to provide insight into how English learning teaching can be adapted to account for local dialect variation to improve students' comprehension and learning outcomes. And here the analysis result. The first is dialect variation and language understanding. Labov, 1972, in Sociolinguistics, patrons point out that regional and social language variation often lead to misunderstandings in formal educational context, especially in standardized language use. In this case, students who speak local dialect may find it difficult to understand instructions or material in English that differs significantly in terms of phonology or syntax. A study by Siegel, 2010, shows that in the context of multilingual education, the difference between the local dialect, especially when they have to navigate between the home language or local dialect and the target language or English. This part, the claim that local dialect affects students' comprehension, particularly in L2-based teaching. And then the second is phonological variation and its impact on listening comprehension. Above 1966, in the social stratification of English in New York City, emphasized that phonological differences between local dialects and standard language often result in difficulties in understanding spoken language. For example, students from regions that use different long vowels may have difficulty in recognizing certain words in English. This also applies to differences in consonants that do not exist in their native language or dialect. Rahmawati, 2021, in their study on the influence of Javanese dialect on English learning, found that students often misidentify English sounds that do not exist in Javanese as well as Sundanese. Variation in the use vowels and consonants significantly affect their oral and written comprehension in English. And then the third is cross-linguistic interference. The study by Jarvis and Pavlenko, 2008, also shows that cross-language transfer can play an important role in the difficulties experienced by students in learning an L2, especially in multilingual contexts where students have to navigate between the home language or local dialect and the target language or English.
Alright, thank you Nabila for the time. Here I would like to present about the last material is about pedagogical implication. So as you can see on the screen, there are three pedagogical here. The first is as language students. Students should be aware of dialect diversity to improve their listening and adaptability skills in various English contexts. Awareness of dialectical variation, both in English and in the native language, helps students to improve their listening and adaptation skills. By getting used to different accents and dialects, students will more easily overcome communication barriers and broaden their cultural horizons. This will support the development of their English skills in various situations. The second, as a language teacher. Teachers should integrate dialectal variation in the teaching and learning process by incorporating materials that reflect local dialect variation to enhance students' relevance, engagement, and understanding. This can be done by using voice or video recordings of speakers with different accents, including local dialects. This strategy not only makes the material more relevant to students, but also increases their engagement and understanding. In addition, teachers should allow students to share experiences about their dialects, creating a discussion space that supports acceptance and understanding of language diversity. And the last is the wider context in English language learning. English curriculum developments need to include dialectal variation to enhance students' abilities in various social contexts and increase their motivation to learn. This is especially important for students who come from regional language backgrounds. Integrating dialectical variation in the curriculum makes students feel valued and more motivated, which can increase their confidence and success in English language learning. Alright, finally, now we have reached the end of this presentation. I would like to say thank you to all presenters for the great presentation. And the conclusion of the presentation today is local dialect variation has an important impact on English comprehension in the classroom context. By understanding and integrating this variation in learning, both students and teachers can overcome communication barriers and enrich the learning experience. This approach not only supports better language comprehension but also promotes understanding and valuation of linguistic variation in educational contexts. So we hope this presentation has been beneficial for all of us and has provided valuable insight in the role of local dialect variation in English language learning. Thank you again for your attention and participation. See you in the next session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.